Welcome, friends. This is AKULMACH Business Channel, and today we will be discussing a very important subject, and it is about the competency-based appraisal system, and what is the right model of ensuring employee appraisal so that it results in performance improvement and also ROI. And to discuss this matter, I will be joined by a very senior learning and development professional, Miss Aditi Palit, and she is joining us from Kolkata. So let's welcome her.
Thank you, Chandrakant, and glad to be back again, and hope to contribute with my views on that important topic.
It's a pleasure, Aditi, and always, always like talking to you about something which is so pressing and everybody needs this. So today, my first question is, when we're talking about employee competencies, how the employee competencies are defined in the first place. That is, I mean, my first question before we start on more detailed discussion.
Yes, this is very important to know at the outset. Competencies are the skills which the employee brings to the workplace as a joinee, and then the core the abilities, and we'll be talking about this in detail, I'm sure, the technical side one side and the behavioral side. So what is his knowledge and what are his skills to implement this knowledge along with his behavioral skills.
Great. So I think what you're saying is that the competency have to be very well defined before we get into the competency-based appraisal system. And that brings us to the next question is, what is this competency-based performance appraisal system? I mean, if you can tell our viewers a little bit about it, how this works, it will be really helpful for our viewers.
Yes, exactly. When the HR the portfolio is in a set, there the recruitment, right from the recruitment policies to, you can say, the exit policy, these need to be well defined. So for each organization, there are two types of competencies in general. That is what fits the organizational goals, the skills that are required. And the next one is the departmental or the job specific competency. Now, all this has to be managed. A model has to be brought into operation. Much research has to be done so that the right person, when you're onboarding, recruiting a new employee, the right person fits into the particular job profile. And it carries on the performance management so that they once they're well into the workplace, with some months and years, continuously the performance management system has to be upgraded. The appraisals have to be done. Now, how these skill sets, which have been, asked of the employees, how they are fitting into the job roles, and therein comes the most important aspect: what is the requirement for further training? If any employee is not having or not polishing the competency required for his job role.
My next question would be about the competency model again, and your advice will be very valuable. And the question is how to develop a model for competency based appraisal for a company. So is there a model, or if there are multiple models which are applicable? And if there are, you can tell our viewers about it.
There are multiple models, and I think of the basically what is required is that the levels at which the appraisals is done This have to be decided first, and it is very, very company and work specific. I'll give you a small example. Say it's a financial company. Now, every employee, every recruit will be tested on the technical knowledge of how far he is good with figures, how far he is analytical, how far he handles, the entire job profile. Now come of the company, the general profiles. Now, when it comes to a specific job role within the financial, within the company, then say the role of an accountant. Therein, he needs to know how to handle the data, the financial data. We all know the profits and losses, the balance sheet. Therein, he needs to be very, very specific about his, numerical ability, about his, basic technical knowledge, which maybe someone into maybe marketing of that company does not need. So herein, the model has to be first the general, the competencies which match that company's profile, the work profile, the general work that is done, and then that is the first layer that we say is the core competencies. Then next level is the functional competencies. Then when we are going into again a particular function like leadership, their competencies, we know what leadership, the behavioral leaderships, those competencies have to be laid out, and the performance management system has to check whether the leader is executing his competencies as desired by the company. So the model is at different levels. This has to be designed by, it is generally done by the HR of department, but sometimes we've seen that outside, these companies which deal with these core competencies testing, they are hired. Now the entire, the employee strength, be it from new journeys to the leaders and the managers, they are made to sit for multiple tests to ascertain whether the desired competencies are there present. And again, we come to the important part, and they'll be giving advice to the CEOs or the topmost level what is desired. That is the test which will show which competency is there, which is being used, and which is lacking, what we call the skill gap.
Great. I think you have given in very brief words. You have to try to convey how you can actually create these models for different companies, and so that brings me to my next question, which is the how the competency-based appraisal system improves the employee performance and thus result in better ROI. So, is there a matrix which you can share which will result in improvement in the employee performance and also the company's ROI?
Definitely. Once the competencies are laid out to the concerned employee and his performance is tracked, there that, as I said, the skill gap will be very depending on his performance, or how much he has been able to meet the desired level. It is very much in front of him. Every time the appraisal happens, he will be able to see, because he has his competencies have been tested while when he's being recruited, and at every appraisal point he is being told how much he has met that level and what is there in terms of, again, the technical knowledge and behavioral. Now, if I want to say what all includes in the tests, in the appraisals for competency. I'm leaving aside technical, which is very industry specific, company specific. As far as behavioral ones are concerned, first of all, communication, the behavioral skills. Then is interpersonal skills, something like, again, his innovative nature, how much he comes forward with new ideas. Then clarity of perceptions. Then next is initiative. Then we have that, whether he can be promoted to the next level as leader. So these each marker every time he is given, and there is a simple matrix, what we call, under each heading, the three options are there, whereby the manager analyzes the performance, either it's excellent, whether it's fair, and whether it's poor. So this is the simplest matrix, which I think works very well. He is told, now what is your cumulative assessment, where you're still lacking, which aspect of your technical knowledge and your behavioral skills, which part is still lacking, and then this is where he has to work on. And then maybe the ones which are excellent, which is nothing needs to be told. Fair has to be trained in some and poor has to be told that he may not be kept in the job if it doesn't improve drastically. So I think this is a wonderful method. I support it, competency based. And one more thing, Chandrakant, there is no scope of biasness on the part of the manager or the leader in this kind of performance appraisal. Because figures, facts, and statistics, everything is in front of everyone.
Well, I like the way you put it. And in fact, if this kind of appraisal system, which is based on absolute number, if that can be promoted and if it can be made available, I think half the problem of any organizations will be solved. And my last question is very simple question, and that is how to first of all define these employee competencies, because you're talking about now matrix based system which will then measure the based on the ability, based on the examinations. But then you also said somewhere that for each industry, for each company, it will be different. So to set up this whole thing, do we need a specialist who will then basically interview the client, understand his business, implement the system, or there is something available off the shelf? What is your opinion on this one?
There are models, as you said, also, I know there are various models. It started way back. It may be, you can say a century old. There are many models. Now, what I advise is, if there is someone who is qualified within the organization to do it. Otherwise, if you hire vendors out from outside, they have a knowledge of various industries and what competencies are required for which, which industry or organization. They should be, invited before this recruitment cycle starts. Now, I'll tell you why this is every year, or it should be done, and especially we all know how the pandemic has thrown every aspect of organizational behavior and management haywire. So what is still now here, the mental strength, the resilience, which may not have been one of the competencies earlier, this has been included, is being included now into the performance management system as an aspect to measure the competency, whether that competency is there or not. So it depends on the organization if they should feel free to take outside help, if they feel by looking at the various models. And this is a vast subject. There are many models. It will take another maybe 1 or 2 talks to say that there are various models, and if we get into that, it's there in front of them. If the organization is very clear about the job roles and the competencies, they can come and zero in on any of the models that's present. But an outsider has a less, again, a biased and more holistic view of the different industries, what competencies, as I said, the core competencies, the functional competencies, the leadership competencies. So they should sit with the management, the decision makers, and they should show that this is the best possible, metrics or system where, we have utilized this in a similar industry, and this is the result that they have yielded. So I would not like to pass a sweeping judgment. It is both are available. It is upon the company owners and the decision makers to take their call.
Well, I think we are just touching the tip of the iceberg here, and it's a very vast subject. We will find an opportunity, Aditi, to pick your brains again on this subject. Maybe we'll pick up one of the model and talk about it in our future program. But thank you so much for joining us today, and in advance wishing you Bengali New Year, which is coming in the next few days, and you have a great time. Thank you so much for joining us.
And this is the thank you so much. And to the viewers, a lot of New Year's around the corner. So my best wishes to everyone for that too. Thank you.
So, friends, we had a very fruitful conversation with Aditi, and we discussed this important subject. And this is about the appraisal system, which is very important. And you know that this cannot be discussed in few minutes, but we will find an opportunity to discuss more in detail about specific models. But for today, I like to say goodbye, only to catch you again in the next one.